David Hall, and I'm the Director for Adult Strategy Engagement.
Hello, I'm Steve St. John. I'm the Director for Adult Program Implementation here at CHE.
And thank you for coming into our room today. What we're going to be discussing today are resources supporting adult learner attainment. And just to kind of start us off, we just want to start off with a great quote that says, anyone who stops learning is old, whether they're 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning not only remains young, but also becomes constantly more valuable. So we want to make sure that that kind of encompasses what we do with adult strategy and how we view it. And so as we move forward with today, we're going to be covering our credit for prior learning, what we're doing for the justice involved community, and also what we're doing for our veterans and military affiliated. And as you can see from those circles, we kind of have just some quick overviews. So for CPL, it'll be the supporting the implementation and also the statewide model guidance that we have, the data collection, the clearinghouse 2.0, just some things about that. For the justice involved, it'll be promoting post-secondary awareness of the resources and transition supports and best practices, as well as for our veteran and military affiliated, the launch of our Collegiate Purple Star of Indiana initiative, and also the framework of excellence that we've built around that. And as we keep going today, we're also going to be touching on our Workforce Ready Grant, as well as individuals with disability pathways, and also reentry and enrollment and other initiatives as we keep going. So we hope that you enjoyed today and that you'll be able to follow along with us. And if you have any questions, if you could please hold them to the end. We're not able to see them as they come in live, but I know Lucas will kind of keep us on track with what that is at the end of our presentation.
Thanks, David. Well, we're going to start with credit for prior learning. Credit for prior learning, or CPL, because you got to love a good acronym, is about recognition of college level learning gained through knowledge, skills, competencies that an individual has gained outside of the traditional classroom for college credit. So it's essentially taking your life experiences, other areas that you have excelled in, and be able to capitalize that in a post-secondary institution. And there's some different examples kind of under the CPL umbrella. Military training and occupation is probably one of the premier places to gain CPL experience because you're connected and associated to so many different experiences in that environment. There's also on-the-job training, standardized exams such as CLEP, Dante's. And then there's just professional licensures and certifications that you may achieve in your current work field. So CPL is a way of capitalizing on all of that. And this nice thing about CPL is it's very specific to an institution. So it's not a one-stop fits all. It's what works for your institution as you develop CPL. But it is about recognizing that people come to your institution with some inherent skills already. In 2013, the Lumina Foundation did a study that 75% of Americans would be more likely to enroll in higher education if they could receive credit for what they already know. So as you're trying to increase your enrollment, you know that if you can create a pathway and open the door, 75% of Americans are willing to entertain that. So that's a great place to look at bolstering up your attendance. According to the Council on Adult and Experiential Learning, or CAEL, they say CPL saves adult students time, approximately 9 to 14 months, and money, $1,500 to $10,000, depending on what field you're in. But the kicker to all that is that the institutions actually benefit from the CPL because on average, CPL students take 17.6 more course credits than their non-CPL students. So essentially what we're saying is CPL gets a new student in the door, but it's really what your institution is offering that keeps them there longer or keeps them coming back. So that's great for retention and ongoing development. We do have several resources regarding CPL. We have identified here is the CPL website. You're going to find things on that website such as definitions, how do you get students to CPL. There's also a link for our current CPL clearinghouse. Now you're going to find some very basic information here. Gives you a lot of overview, links to other sources. And keep in mind that this is what we'll call Clearinghouse 1.0. Because we are in the process right now of kind of looking at the next generation, or Clearinghouse 2.0. So that's kind of in development now. But a good place to start just to see what's there is the current link. We also have on our CPL website partner resources. Most recently, Indiana developed a CPL model policy guidance for post-secondary institutions. And it's really a way of guiding you through the CPL process and developing it at your own institution. So it is a great starting document. Along with these other partner resources are training webinars, because as we were developing the model policy, we had a lot of educational training around it, and you can find the links to those videos there as well. So if you weren't familiar with what we were doing, you can log on and watch from the beginning the process as it unfolded in Indiana. And we also have some other CPL collaborative initiatives, reports, appendices, other resources available. So the CPL site is a great place to go to learn about it and how to develop it at your institution and even expand it. Currently, we are working on military CPL. That is our current focus, because it is a smaller targeted demographic, and we can really try to work through some of the hiccups as you're developing it at your own institution. With that, we have developed through our partners at TPMA a Google site, kind of a repository, or what we like to call it as a sandbox for us to play in. So we have put on the Google site a lot of the national, state, and even institution resources regarding military credit for prior learning policies, practices, job descriptions, webinars from different places. And so that's our place to play. We're experimenting in this stage because we'll use what we've learned in the Google site as we develop that CPL Clearinghouse 2.0. If you are interested in receiving access to the Google site, please contact us. Our information will be available on the last slide, or through the military affiliated contact person on your campus, because we have been emailing and in contact with everyone across the state, letting them know that this is available for them. So you got two different ways that you can get access to the site. But please go there, look and see what we've developed. Through Adult Strategy, there are several financial assistance programs that we work with specifically, and that is the Workforce Ready Grant and the Adult Student Grant. The Workforce Ready Grant is a catalyst to Hoosier economic and social mobility. The program assists eligible Indiana residents with educational costs so they can quickly obtain a high-value certificate for an in-demand job field from one of our approved providers in one of Indiana's high-growth industry sectors. The thing about the Workforce Ready Grant is it's just one of multiple workforce funding programs in Indiana that support individuals who are in different stages of their educational workforce experience. At CHE, we are focusing on the credit-bearing providers and their certificates. At Department of Workforce Development, they deal with the non-credit certifications. A few keys about the credit-bearing portion. First of all, there's no application. You don't have to fill out anything else. There's no individual or family income limitations or requirements. And because this is part of a Workforce Ready Grant, there are no employment requirements that you might expect. Students can utilize the Workforce Ready Grant funding for up to 2 years. What's important to know about Workforce Ready Grant is it's what we call a last dollar program. So you have to use all other forms of financial and public assistance and funding for which you're eligible, except for student loans and post 9/11 GI benefits. So once you use all of the financial aid information first and that funding, then whatever's left is eligible for the Workforce Ready Grant funding stream. Now, in order to determine how much you will receive, each student must complete a FAFSA. And a student can receive funds as they are available. So every year, this program is funded through the state legislation. And we will spend those until they're exhausted. So it is kind of first come, first serve. But those are just a few highlights of the program, just to let you know what some of the barriers are. In 2024, the average funds that were used by students was $1,985. That's according to our Scholar Track data. So if you're at the end of your class in finances, that's a nice little extra boost so you don't have to pay out of pocket. And the Workforce Ready Grant was originally part of the governor's Next Level Jobs umbrella. That's where it currently is housed. And so there is a link to the Next Level Jobs website. The program itself is centered on Indiana's high growth industry sectors. And there are 6 of them: advanced manufacturing, building and construction, health and life sciences, information technology and business services, transportation and logistics, and most recently, as of January of last year, early childhood education. We do have 6 post-secondary credit-bearing providers that these certificates are being administered through. You can see IU Indy, which used to be IUPUI, Indiana University Southeast, Indiana Tech, Ivy Tech, Ross Education, and Vincennes. So if you're at one of those providers, the financial aid team there will know about the Workforce Ready Grant, and you can inquire with them. What I will say, though, is in 2025, which is the current program year that we're in, there are 147 certificate types available over those 6 industries that I just talked about. And that's compared to just 78 certificates when the program started for fiscal year 2018. So we've almost doubled the amount of offerings since July 1st of 2017. So it's a great program designed to get individuals who are either in the workforce to give them more skills that might provide promotions or other opportunities, or for individuals who want to start their journey and get them some experience. So that is the Workforce Ready Grant. Our other program is the Adult Student Grant. It's designed to meet the unique needs of working adults. It assists to paying tuition and regular assessed fees to post-secondary students. And this could be for individuals who are completing an associate's degree. Maybe this is their first bachelor degree or a certificate of one of our approved providers. This program is a little bit more flexible than the Workforce Ready Grant as far as entry requirements, but it does have some student expectations. So to qualify, an individual must be independent according to the FAFSA. There is an application for this through Scholar Track. And again, you can contact your local financial aid officers and they would be able to assist because they would have information on this program. And you must be enrolled at least 6 credit hours. So it's a little bit more flexible on some aspects, but you do have the 6 credit hour requirement to think about. So that's the Adult Student Grant. Our newest initiative is the Collegiate Purple Star of Indiana. We like to call it CPSI. It recognizes an eligible post-secondary institution that has successfully demonstrated a supportive environment for its United States military-affiliated student population from application to graduation. This program actually launched through legislation in March of 2023. And in April 30th of this year, we officially had our ceremony where we kicked the program off. And I'm happy to say that beginning the 1st of January, we will be opening applications for post-secondary institutions who want to seek this award designation. In order to be successful, we have created a CPS field guide. It has 37 standards over 8 different categories. Category 1 is what we call our required standards. And so those are the things that you have to do. Every institution who wants to apply must do category 1. But then there's 30 other standards over 7 different categories. So we have marketing and communication standards, admissions and enrollment, financial support, institutional support systems, student support services, student engagement, and career and community engagement are your other 30 standards. And for this designation, we have a 70, 80, or 90% threshold. So you don't have to meet all 37 standards. But if you're at the beginning of your journey and you think, hey, I can hit the 70% of them, then you can still apply and receive a designation. And there's still room for opportunity for growth and advancement. We do have a CPSI webpage. So I encourage everyone to go there. You'll see the mission statement that I just read earlier. In the spring of 2025, when we award our first group of designated awardees, we will list all the recipients in this location. You'll also see the designation criteria. I talked about the field guide. There's 5 different appendices, the application and other documentation that will be found here. We also have resources. We've developed a CPSI one-pager. Kind of gives a nice overview of what the program is trying to accomplish. So if you're talking to your coworkers or other individuals in an administration, you can say, hey, this is what CPSI is and how it's trying to impact the military student experience. We also have some national resources listed there as well. We also have educational opportunities. We have been doing lunch and learns since June of this year. So all of the recordings and the materials for those lunch and learns are available. So again, CPSI is a new initiative that we've just started. And please go to this webpage if you want to learn more about that. And I will turn it over to David.
Yep. And so thank you, Steve, and I'll kind of take over. And what I'll be kind of covering today from the adult strategy standpoint is how we focus and service some of those special adult populations. And we'll be starting with the justice involved students. And so what we found upon kind of diving into a lot of the data, a lot of the opportunities for educational attainment for this population, we needed a definition. And so in justice involved individual is an individual group of people who have had contact with the justice system, including courts, jails, prisons, probation, or drug courts, whether currently or previously involved. And so just some national statistics to kind of paint the picture as to why we're doing what we're doing and some of the results for what we're doing. Nearly 2 million Americans are currently incarcerated, and 80 million Americans have a criminal record of some sort. And that means 1/3 of the American population. Incarcerated individuals or pre-incarceration income is 54% less than non-incarcerated individuals, kind of alluding to their economic mobility. And also just over 50% of previously incarcerated people have a high school diploma or GED as well. And so we want to talk about why we need education. And so as we kind of move forward with that, some of the benefits of educating this population would be lower recidivism rates. Individuals enrolled in education programs are 48% less likely to be incarcerated. Increasing employability. Rates in employment post-release increases by 12% of participants of education programs. Shift in prison and jail culture as well is a key one. And participating in education opportunities shifts behaviors and reduces conduct infractions, which positively impact personal and community development as well. And also, we want to increase social mobility and stability for families upon release for these individuals if they're educated as well. So some of the avenues that we've gone down and we've started to create um, to make sure that education is attainable are building justice involved communities of practice. And so we've done that in two ways. The first being the Indiana Prison Education Program, IPEP, and the second being Justice Reinvestment Advisory Council's JRACs as well. And so as we start, we will go into IPEP and kind of give some definition and talk about what that means. Previously, in July 1st of 2023, the Pell Grant actually expanded its eligibility to students enrolled in IPEP programs or PEP programs in general. So it builds upon the Second Chance Pell experiment from 2015, where it actually gave Pell opportunities to those in prison to fill out the FAFSA and actually receive funds to actually receive an education. In which three private Indiana institutions, Holy Cross College, Indiana Tech, and also Indiana Wesleyan participated. And so the US DOE had now shifted responsibility of PEPs to actually Department of Corrections. And so Indiana Department of Corrections oversees our actual PEP efforts. And so we're acting in partnership with them. We're grateful for their partnership. So we actually signed an MOU in 2023. And so what we're responsible for is actually holding stakeholder consortium meetings and convenings to make sure that we are building best practices and also aligning for what resources and what assistance is necessary so that we can host successful PEP programs as well. So currently, IDOC has approved 6 IPEP programs, and they are Holy Cross College, and they have Associates of Arts and Bachelors of Arts as well. Indiana Wesleyan University hosts the Business Practices Certificate. Indiana Tech holds a business certificate as well. Indiana Ivy Tech also has automotive technology and business administration certificates, and Marion University offers an associate's and bachelor's in liberal arts. So those are the programs that are currently active in some of the prisons located throughout and correctional facilities throughout the state. And so within that, we had our first convening in July of 2024. And from that, it was a great time. A lot of the providers that were not familiar with each other previously. And so it was nice to actually gather everybody into the same room so that way we can start to think about what experiences are happening and also what commonalities lie within some of those experiences and what are the outlier barriers and things like that. And so we've had another convening since then, and we are planning for our next one coming up in February as well. And so the IPEP community of practice has become focused on assisting in development and operation of high quality education programs, in addition to enhancing reentry opportunities and experiences, and also strengthening the operation expectations and support, as I kind of just alluded to. And so that is the IPEP portion. And so now we'll switch over into the Justice Reinvestment Advisory Councils. And so the JRACs are actually a function of the Indiana Office of Court Services, who are over most of the jails located in counties throughout the state of Indiana. And so the JRACs were created to actually review policies, promote collaboration on state and county levels, forward evidence-based practices and best practices on community alternatives to jailing and policing, and also exploring recidivism reduction strategies as well. And so we've been able to come alongside and work with the statewide JRAC as well. And they also are located across the street from us, which is very nice. So they're our neighbors. We've been able to kind of meet our neighbor and really form a relationship with them and be a part of their regularly held forums. And we've been a part of that since the summertime. And what we've been able to find and kind of recommend is the adaptation of the social determinants of health when viewing somebody coming out of jail and re-entering into society. And so, as you can see from our demographic, utilizing the social determinants of health could help us view and address someone's healthcare and access to quality healthcare within that neighborhood and built environment, social and community context, economic stability, and also education, access, and quality. And so, what we've been able to do is kind of bring forth and recommend maybe adapting this very notion of viewing a justice involved individual from the context of their social determinants of health and how we can help them. How can we help lower recidivism? How can we also promote more rehabilitation within that? And so, as we are the Indiana Commission for Higher Education, we have brought forth an education attainment template. And so, as you can see from here, we have on ramps, and you can think of off ramps within this as well. And so, as always, we start with the high school equivalency or GED. And so, when you look at these ramps, the ultimate result is that we want everybody to arrive at the ramp of employment and be able to then forward onto their life to promote more economic stability. And so, for example, we will be promoting this with the JRACs and saying maybe somebody comes in with their GED. Let's actually get them to resources for employment because some people will not want to participate and go to ramp 2, 3, or 4. And that's fine as well, but they will be able to still fit and find themselves within the template. The second is maybe someone has their GED and maybe they want to pursue an associate's degree or certificates from the Workforce Ready grant that Steve actually just alluded to in previous slides. They can then go there and maintain their education attainment, their pathways. They can graduate, get that, and ultimately arrive at employment within that as well. And so when we think about the education attainment template, people can really find themselves and really look at pathways and what that results to in terms of employment. And so what we're building actually is a field guide that can go statewide and also region wide and region specific to have the resources already placed and available to where it's only somebody has to look at a sheet quickly to see what is closest to them and where they want to go on their ramp and their journey for their education attainment opportunity. And so that's what we're working on with the JRACs right now. As we switch from the justice involved community, we also have been doing work with individuals with disabilities. And so we have began cross-sector task force, which launched in September, and we'll be meeting through March 2025. And what we'll be doing is kind of finding some of the best practices and also some of the barriers and growth opportunities for us to try to make a statewide impact for this community to also increase education attainment. And we know that this is a self-selecting thing. And so we are just also learning and listening to our institutions as well within how to maneuver in this space. And so this is another particular group that we are doing work for. And so we have also created 2 working groups to improve these pathways. So we're thinking about access and success as well. And so as we're thinking about those things, that's where we are with the individuals with disabilities currently. And as we kind of run down on time, I know we want to make sure that we have time for questions and we're able to answer questions. And that concludes our presentation today. And we thank you for attending and thank you for coming and seeing us.
Yep. David, thank you. Steve, thank you. We have, it looks like 2 questions. So we'll start with the most recent one. This is from a couple of slides ago. It says, why not a high school diploma?
Why not a high school diploma?
Correct. Why not a high school diploma?
And so for the high school diploma, typically for a lot of the efforts when thinking about the other ramps, the bare minimum requirement, as we always talk about, is typically the GED or the HSC. And so that's the starting point. And so that's why it's necessary, and that is the starting point for everything. So it's kind of that is why that's necessary more than it is not. If during the presentation, if I spoke as if it wasn't, that wasn't my intention, and I apologize.
Perfect. Thank you. And then our first question, the website for the adult grant says first come, first serve. Does it run out often?
And that was for the adult student grant, correct?
I believe so.
No,
I asked about 15 minutes ago.
Okay. No, we do have sufficient funding for the adult student grant, as well as currently for the Workforce Ready grant. That's more my disclaimer, because what we do is these are 2 beginning programs, but we do have some ideas of expanding them into the future and meeting other needs among those adult population. So that's my qualifier. That's my legal disclaimer. How's that?
Great, great. I don't see another question that's in the chat, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucas.